First of all, I would ask, of course we are talking about Ladies Windermere fan, but first of all I want to ask you one thing. Which is your relationship with Ernst Lubitsch?
I knew about him, of course, and I knew his sound film, like Ninochka, is a great favorite film. I first came into contact to actually compose music for one of his silent films with a film called Old Heidelberg, which was a film version of The Student Prince, a famous operetta. But before that, it had been a play from about 1900 called Old Heidelberg. And because of competition with the Broadway musical, they went to the original title. And that was a very romantic film, and in the setting of Heidelberg and student life, university life there. And so it had a great, I really enjoyed doing that, and I had plenty of student drinking songs and dueling songs and things. So that was really fun. I did a performance here in Pordenone many years ago. I was looking always for another Lubitsch film I could do, because he has a special character. Sort of very ironic, which appeals to me, but also wise, rather worldly wise. This is the way things are in the world, and I thought I liked that. I liked his philosophy, So I was sitting in another film festival in the south of Ireland, a place called Skull, and I was there really as a guest and talking about Chaplin and improvising for things. And I said I would love to do a film for you, but with an Irish subject, and but a silent Irish film, you know. And I said, well, maybe there's something from Oscar Wilde, because he was Irish. So he never wrote about it, but you know, at least it would be that. So we found, and to my delight, that Lubitsch had done a film of Lady Windermere's fan. And we looked it out, and I could see that it was wonderful. However, there was one very odd thing about it, because Oscar Wilde wrote it in the 1890s, so the end of the 19th century. And if you go to the theater, everybody is in costume, and the sets and so on are of London in 1980. And I'm wrong about that, sorry, the London in 1890. The premiere was 1892. So what is odd about the Hollywood film is that they have made a production which is completely 1925, absolutely costume, makeup, hair, everything is the 20s. So for him, then, a contemporary film, except for the settings. So the setting is still the grand Belgravia house, and so it's a slight contradiction between the mentality. And because I said, well, you know, if I were to think, oh well, it's set in the 1920s, that's jazz age, you know, there would be some reference to that. But in fact, I decided not to, that I would be faithful to Oscar Wilde rather than a Hollywood, oh, why would we have all those old costumes, you know, let's have everybody look new. So I decided I would ignore that, and I would write a score as if it was set in 1892. Because the feel of it is just that, just right, and so we ignore the fact that the costumes look like 20s. But so there is that. But so then when it came to I could only have very small resources in this town called Skull on the south coast. And I thought, you know, that if you go anywhere in that period, to a party, to a restaurant, to a tea shop, even to a tea shop, there would always be a little group playing. They would call it a palm court orchestra. And so there would always be the palm court orchestra wherever you went. Even when I came to England for the first time, which was in 1960, there still was this tradition, and there was a famous chain called Lyons Corner House. And I remember opposite from Charing Cross Station in London, and there was this group playing away. It's the 60s. If you go to a hotel lounge and so on for certain hours, or a restaurant, certainly a restaurant, there would be a little band, it's a little group, sometimes just a piano or harp sometimes. And I thought, well, it would be quite nice in this film, and knowing that, you know, I would never have a grand orchestra, which would be nice to do a theater version with a proper operetta orchestra. But it seemed very intimate. The story, most of the story, is interior, a room. There's a little bit of film of a big horse race, but that was not in the play. That's an invention. But I mean, I love it. But that's good. But except for that, it's just two people or a little party, not a little party, quite a big party, but still not huge in scope. It's the human drama, and I thought I could get that with a kind of a group of a trio of players, violin, cello, piano. So it was, in a way, a decision that was to go for a kind of realistic sound. And it means also that the film, we could play anywhere. We could do it in a room. We could do it in a hotel lounge. We could do it, you know, it widens the scope. So this is its third performance. The first was in Ireland, in Skull, in a hotel ballroom. That was their big cinema there. And then the second performance was in a school, a marvelous school in England that had been founded by Yehudi Menuhin. So it's called the Yehudi Menuhin School, and it's in the beautiful countryside in south of England. And I did it with 3 students of the school who were geniuses. Everyone is genius, genius, genius. You know, so it was, they were all teenagers. And that was my second show. And so now here we are in Italy with it, in Pordenone, which is very special to me. I've been conducting films here since 1987. And I did a film called The Wind. And more or less every year, well, not really, but every year, but a lot of years, I've come back to do generally a new score, what I've just done that year, or do that. So my dream is that to come back, and my dream is always to come back here, because the audience are coming because they love these films with a passion, and it's an incredible and unique atmosphere, international, and people really know what they're going to see, and are always enthusiastic. So I hope now that we had to lose a year, you know, that we're back on track, and we can go forward. You know, this could, in some ways, this almost could be a Verdi opera. You know, the story of a woman who gives up her baby, you know, for a love affair, for a lover, to leave her husband and leave the baby, is regarded as a terrible woman. In fact, in this film, or the particular actress they chose and the way they did it, you have sympathy for her. This daughter, which is the Lady Windermere, emotionally, if she knew that the person she was talking to was her mother, it would be, everyone feels, all the characters in the know feel that it would be a catastrophe for her if she knew. But the mother wants to see her, and she has to accept that it would be a catastrophe if the daughter knew. So it reminds me of all in Verdi opera, like Aida and her father, or there's many father-daughter scenes in Verdi operas, reconciliation, the father and the son, father and the daughter. So this is the reverse, this is the mother and the daughter. And I keep thinking, you know, that it really is Verdian in tone. So my music then takes on a very operatic, there really are scenes, you feel they could be singing this, you know. And especially when now that you put in titles that are in Italian, and we're talking not about a mother, but a madre, figlia, you know, all these strong phrases, you know, of such drama. And also even things like when you go to the birthday party, Mrs. Lady Windermere's birthday, and she throws a party, you could imagine this little trio playing like in the first act of La Traviata, you know, there's an offstage playing waltzes and dances and things for the guests. And in Rigoletto, again in the first act, you know, there's the offstage band for the Duke's party. So in some ways I use a waltz especially for you know, the party scene, you know, and you have a sense, oh, they could be just on the other side of the screen playing.
I heard some of your rehearsals, and there is also in your score, in my opinion, some humor.
Yes, well, of course, this is the Lubitsch. Well, of course. Well, what's amazing, of course, we think of Wilde more like Importance of Being Earnest, which is comedic throughout. But the three plays he wrote before were really on very serious subjects. But there would always be some sections where he makes jokes, you know. So, in fact, you see, I would say, and this is perhaps the most interesting thing for me about the film, is that if you read the stage play from 1892, you have the feeling that he is interested in dialogue. He's interested in people talking. And they talk and they talk and they talk. And nothing really happens, a physical event or anything. It's all discussed. It all happens off stage. She never meets the mother, etc. And I think what Lubitsch does, which is so marvelous, is that he gives you the backstory. He gives you what happened before. And so this gives you a more complete character to them. The one thing he leaves out, which he doesn't develop, and it could have been because of the actress he was rather forced to use to play Lady Windermere, is that in the play, she is rather more political. She's a moralist. She's rather stiff. You know, she has causes, you know, that are rather conservative, we would see today. And the part of her drama is she's really going to be crushed, that character, if she knows the truth. So there's a greater distance for her to fall than she would in this, where she just stays as she is. And there's not a hint of a character or a commitment to a cause or anything like that in the film. She's just very pretty. I think this film would go well of course, it works in the cinema. It's fine, but to do in historic buildings, you know, not public buildings, but where people lived or live, even today, and have a little festival or something like that. It would be quite interesting to be in a grand room.
Yeah.
With this film, you know. Anyway, that's a dream.